I believe it's 7 o'clock, so I will call to order this meeting of the Mount Pleasant City Commission, August 24th, 2020. And I will ask that we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, tonight, Mary Ann Cornexel, our financial director, is taking over the clerk duties for Jeremy Howard, who moved on career-wise to Claire to be the new city manager there. And we really appreciate all the work that Jeremy did for the last 20 years at the city. And so just introduce tonight Mary Ann Cornexel, who's always with us. But Mary Ann, has the role been taken?
Yes, Mayor, it has. Commissioner Gillis is absent and she's sick tonight.
Okay. Well, we hope she gets really better. Obviously, it's always never a good time to be sick. So tonight we have two presentations. Our first is a presentation by the Michigan Department of Transportation Aeronautics on the Mount Pleasant Airport. And I believe we have, we've got a few people here from the airport. I think Bill Brickner and
yeah, Mayor, we have a pre-recorded video first that we're going to show that's about 15 minutes long. And then after that is over, the two representatives from MDOT and or Bill will be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hillary Hoos. I am with the Michigan Office of Aeronautics. We are part of the Department of Transportation. I am here today to talk to you about the community benefits of Mount Pleasant Municipal Airport. At our office, we administer the Airport Improvement Program, enforce the Michigan Aeronautics Code, administer the Tall Structure Act, inspect and license all public use airports in Michigan. We deal with planning and zoning, and we overall promote aviation safety. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about aviation in Michigan, the transportation networks, the business of aviation, Michigan's economy, the FAA's aviation forecast, and then we're going to get into the MASP and the CBA of Mount Pleasant, and the investments that the airport has had in the past and looking to have in the future. In Michigan, there are 226 licensed public use airports, 7 licensed public use heliports, over 13,500 active pilots, and over 6,500 registered aircraft. We have 17 scheduled airlines, 6 aircraft manufacturers, with over 2 million aircraft operations annually. So here you see the 4 main transportation networks available in Michigan. We have maritime, rail, automotive, and aviation. Residents, visitors, and businesses all use Michigan airports daily to transport goods, services, people in, people out, and people around the state. Aviation plays a unique role in Michigan due to our remote island locations that may not be accessible otherwise, such as Beaver Island and North Fox Island. Airports form the transportation network just as our highway systems do. Michigan's public use airports provide access to the nation's 4,820 airports. So Michigan makes up about 4.6% of the United States airports. One of our favorite quotes at the Office of Aeronautics is, if you pave a mile of highway, you can go a mile. If you pave a mile of runway, you can go anywhere. So a little bit on the business of general aviation. General aviation, or GA, is everything other than commercial air service and military. In Michigan, we see GA in agricultural spraying, emergency medical operations, firefighting, flight training, photography, remote access, personal and business travel, cargo, and a big one, community involvement. Mount Pleasant Airport is very active within the local community. The annual Wings and Wheels event brings about 200 classic cars and several aircraft to the airport. The typical attendance of this event is 800 to 1,000 people. The EAA has a fly-in breakfast and Young Eagles Day, where flights are offered for around 60, 70 kids. In 2019, the airport hosted tours for over 150 school kids and had 3 high school job shadowing opportunities. So a little bit about how aviation plays with Michigan's economy. So aviation is vital to the economy and the quality of life, and it can be essential to attract and retain industry. With over 1,000 companies and over 1 million employees, they operate aircraft in Michigan. It comes into play when time is critical, such as overnight delivery. So FedEx, UPS, USPS, your Amazon Prime packages. Manufacturing with just-in-time delivery. Police, firefighting, search and rescue, and of course, health. So how this plays with the United States economy. In 2016, the FAA saw that employments were up by 4.3%. Now, some other aviation industries were and have been showing small declines, but the business segment continues to see a year-over-year increase. The FAA sees that the primary driver for this growth is the U.S. airline and business aviation activity. The FAA predicts that aviation is going to continue to rise. So here we are with the Michigan Aviation System Plan. So this is what our office calls the MAST. It is a key policy and guidance document that is used to determine federal and state funding at the public use airports. The last update of this was in 2017. So we took all of the airports in Michigan and we put them into 3 tiers. Just with the impact of Tier 1 and Tier 2s, we had nearly $22 billion and 184,000 jobs. So where does Mount Pleasant fit into this math? Mount Pleasant was in the East Central region. The region ranked 10th overall in economic impact. Mount Pleasant was listed as a Tier 1. So it was an airport that responds to critical and essential state airport system goals and objectives. 86 airports were put into this Tier 1 category. Mount Pleasant reached a Tier 1 for population centers, business centers, tourism center, general population, and land coverage. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what that means. So for population center, Tier 1 airports were those that were necessary to reach all defined population centers within a 30-minute drive time. Business center Tier 1 airports were those that were necessary to reach all defined business centers within a 30-minute drive time. Tourism centers, so this one is a little bit more in depth. The region that Mount Pleasant was in had over $1 billion in total visitor spendings. So One airport from each county was chosen to be the primary airport for that area. Mount Pleasant Airport received that title for Isabella County and had over $217 million in visitor spending. So Tier 1 airports were those that had more than $125 million. General population, these are airports that are necessary to reach 95% of Michigan's total population within a 45-minute drive time. And then we have land coverage. So these Tier 1 airports were those that were necessary to reach 95% of Michigan's total land area within a 30-mile radius. So the areas that Mount Pleasant received a Tier 2 was in regional capacity. So this was based off the number of base aircraft at the airport, and then for NIPIAS inclusion. So these, you either were or you're not in the NIPIAS. Here is a snapshot of the top portion of Mount Pleasant CBA. So this just talks a little bit about the airport and the airport's features. It shows that it was put as a Tier 1 in the MASP and received an ARC of C2. And then you can see the total operations and aircraft and passengers from the airport. So here are the numbers that everybody is waiting on. This is a section, again, of the CBA. These CBA worksheets were completed by the airport managers to help us identify economic indicators and activities. The worksheets were then entered into our community benefit assessment tool, and that gauges the economic impact of each system airport based on the data inputs. This is actually an updated CBA from what was used in the 2017 MASP, so these numbers are a bit newer than 2017. And these can be updated at any time. If our contact information is at the end of this, so if the airport manager, anybody wants to update that, or even we can throw out some numbers. If this company comes here, this is what our output might look like. So first we have these direct effects. So on-airport impacts represent activities that occur on airport grounds, and these would not occur without the airport. We have off-site, which is supported by visitor spending impacts. These are off-airport expenditures that are made by air travelers who are visiting. So this information was captured using the visitor spending surveys that we received. The surveys showed an average of $240 spent per visitor. So what this is meaning is that people are coming into the airport and they are going out to dinner. They're tipping their waitress. That waitress is getting the salary and the tips, and she's going to the grocery store to buy groceries for her family, or she's getting her nails done. It really shows how this money coming through the airport is just going into Mount Pleasant community as well as the state. So here we have the jobs, income, and output section. These jobs are the positions that are created as a result of the aviation industry. Income, of course, refers to payroll, and output refers to the business sales or budget expenditures. So as you can see at the bottom here, Mount Pleasant has an impact locally of over $7 million and over $8.6 million statewide. The airport activity at Mount Pleasant continues to increase. They've added 5 new tenants in the last year. After-hour and weekend callouts have increased significantly to 127 in 2019. Many basketball teams and entertainers and corporate aircraft come through this airport. So Mount Pleasant's not slowing down. I know this is a little bit difficult to read on the screen. I apologize for that. This is just Mount Pleasant's airport report card. So this is from the maps. We take the tier and the ARC, the airport reference code that Mount Pleasant was placed into on the maps. And we have kind of set goals for that level of airport. Mount Pleasant's doing a great job. They have met almost all of these. The only areas that we've received no in is the runway lighting system and aircraft maintenance and instrument instrument approach. So this can be used looking forward to the future as kind of justification or ideas for the airport when they're looking for growth. We can bring this to the table and say, this is the goal for a Tier 1 C2 airport. This is what we'd like to see. This does not mean that the airport is lacking in any ways. Again, this is just an overall goal that we'd like to see for that tier and that arc that Mount Pleasant is in the mass. We do have a below goal on that PCI, which is the pavement condition index on the runway. It looks like Mount Pleasant's at 59, our goal is 60, so it's just one hit below, so that's okay. And then the PCI for the taxiway is great at 64, and our goal for that is 50. So looking into the investments of Mount Pleasant Airport, we have recent investments of replacing the AWAS and the taxiway lighting. And the 5-year plan for the future is some easement acquisition, as well as lighting and marking and removing obstructions. Your community is very fortunate to have this airport. And if you lose your community airport, it's extremely unlikely that you will have another. FAA rules are changing all the time. Right now, they're only allowing one NIPIAS airport per county moving forward. So that just shows that if this airport, for some crazy reason, were to go away, it could be difficult to get something back. In the summary, aviation, including GA, has a very important role within the overall transportation system. General aviation transportation, it has a positive economic benefit for a community. And transportation is growing and will continue to grow over the next 25 years. And again, I just want to reiterate that Mount Pleasant is doing great. They have that local output of over $7 million and a statewide input over $8.5 million. So that is just exceptional for the local community as well as for the state. And then another one of our quotes, the new business highways in the sky overhead, and your airport is the access ramp. Here is my contact information, Hillary Hoos, and my counterpart at the office is Kelly Badra. At any time, you guys can contact us for these worksheets, for more information. We are here to help you. I want to thank you guys for having us on this Zoom meeting, and we are here and available to answer any questions that might arise. So thank you very much.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank Hillary for that great presentation. It was very informational. And it was very nice to hear about how good our airport is doing and how well it serves our community, obviously bringing in $7.5 million worth of revenue locally and a little over 8 for the statewide. And that really, I think, puts in a physical term about how important that airport is to us. So are there any questions for Hillary, or I see Kelly's here as well? Commissioner Tolles?
I had one question. Hillary, you went over the lighting that we're lacking in and maintenance of aircraft. And I didn't catch the third one was instrument.
It was the instrument approach. It looks like Mount Pleasant currently has a non-precision, and our goal for the Tier 1 C2 ARC is to have a precision approach.
So that would entail upgrading equipment on the instrument?
I am not sure exactly what that entails. That's something that I don't have a big part in. It's mostly with the FAA getting some kind of rules written on that instrument approach procedure.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Hillary, or do we have Bill Brickner with us as well? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands, so I just want to again thank you, Hillary, for your time, and Kelly and Bill, and please feel free to hang around if you'd like, or take off if you need to. And thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right. Next on our agenda is a presentation by the Downtown Development Director, Michelle Sponseller.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Sponseller, and I'm the Downtown Development Director for the east to Lansing Street, west just past the railroad tracks, south to Wisconsin, and north to Pickard. Downtown is comprised of 3 districts with 3 different boundaries: the Tax Increment Finance Authority, or TIFA district, the Principal Shopping District, referred to as the PSD, and the Downtown Historic District. There are different areas of focus depending on the day and the challenges that lie ahead for downtown. It takes a combination of all of these areas to bring downtown revitalization into focus: historic preservation, which is adaptable reuse of our existing buildings; capital improvement projects to expand, maintain, and improve the infrastructure in downtown; business retention and recruitment; the formation of policies, procedures, and programs to assist businesses and property owners; marketing the district in various formats; grounds care, which is managed by the Parks Department; housing, parking management, and special events, which is co-managed with the Recreation Department. Let's take a minute and walk through downtown by the numbers. There are 638,938,000 square feet within the PSD district, which is located 11 blocks north of the campus of Central Michigan University and 3 miles from the campus of Mid-Michigan College. There are 189 businesses within the downtown, along with the municipal offices for the city, Isabella County, the courts, jail, and sheriff's offices. Within those 189 businesses include 22 retailers, 22 restaurants, eateries, bars, and 145 personal and professional service businesses. Within the personal and professional services category, you'll find a wide variety of businesses such as automotive repair, business services such as accounting and logistics, financial institutions, legal services, medical and dental offices, media and technology companies, real estate services, salons, and spas. Our current vacancy rate, made up of spaces that are either for sale or for lease, is 3.9%. However, let's talk a minute about underutilized space. These are buildings or spaces that aren't for sale or lease, but are currently vacant. These might be buildings that are vacant due to building renovations, such as when a property owner is actively renovate the space, or when a property owner is holding on to the property with a future use in mind. In these cases, we track it separate from that space that is vacant, so we know how to direct people into what is actually available for sale or for lease. A quick note, however, about vacant space. Having a small percentage isn't bad, as we need some vacant space for new or expanding businesses. We often get calls for businesses looking for space downtown, but we have limited options for them to choose from currently. Within downtown, we have more than 190 apartments, made up of 1- and 2-bedroom apartments located above commercial businesses to larger complexes with units ranging from 20 upwards of 99 at Riverview. Additionally, we'll have another 47 units when the Broadway Lofts project is completed next fall. Although our housing options are good, we do have the capability of converting additional upper floors from either vacant space or offices into housing. By doing this, we could have an additional 60 units. Downtown has 3 primary sources of funding: the general fund, the TIFA tax capture, which is used for infrastructure until approximately 2022, and the special assessment, which is paid by property owners within the district. Additionally, we do apply for grants whenever we can. Within the TIFA budget, we cover such things as approving economic activity, facade grants, fire protection program, and various economic initiatives. Within the principal shopping district budget, we cover grounds care, snow removal from parking lots, hanging flower baskets, and the utilities. From the general fund, which is covering capital improvement projects, business retention and recruitment, marketing, events, and administrative functions. Capital improvement projects cover 13 municipal lots owned by the city, alleyways, sometimes repairing and replacing existing streetscape features such as lighting, benches, or trash cans, and sometimes it's the expansion of the streetscape as we did along Michigan Street this past summer. Capital projects may also include repair and replacement of hardscape features such as brickwork, fencing, and signage. An example of this type of project is the planter replacement by the street department taking place along Broadway and Main Street this year. Parking management. With 13 municipal lots, our focus is on the balance on the type of parking available, such as 1, 3, and 10-hour locations, and location of the permit lots. 2 of our lots, number 7, located at the northeast corner of University in Illinois, and number 8, located on Lansing Street between Broadway and Michigan, are the permit lots, with renewals each October. Additionally, the Isabella County Administration offices and courthouse have 2 parking lots for their use, and additionally, we have 21 private parking lots within downtown. There are a number of programs at the local, state, and federal level for revitalizing downtown, whether the project involves housing or commercial space, or whether it involves the interior or exterior of the building. These programs can take the forms of grants, loans, or tax credits depending on the specifics of the project. Marketing and communication is key to a healthy downtown. The continuous flow of communication between staff and business and property owners on topics such as programs and policies, construction projects, events, and even weather at some times is crucial. Constant communication makes sure that everyone, including customers, renters, and visitors, are up to date on the latest information. Our communication methods are through constant contact and email listserv reaching our business and property owners, and also social media avenues such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Additionally, we also have traditional media relationships with local and regional newspapers, television, and radio stations. As you would expect, most of our community, however, is familiar with downtown as it stands as the heartbeat and soul of our community. The place where we gather in both good times and the challenging ones, the spots for marches and vigils, watching movies under the summer night sky, taking the best of live music, or tasting the latest in craft beer. Fall bringing crisp, clear nights perfect for homecoming parades and trick-or-treating. And even when the Christmas lights go up and the snow starts to fall, we celebrate Christmas in downtown with the greatest cheer that we have. With more than 15 annual events, in addition to numerous 5K races, parades, and local organization events held downtown, we have year-round activity, whether you're 3 or 93. Thank you for taking the time this evening to learn a bit more about the Office of Downtown Development. If you have any questions, I'm available on this Zoom meeting and would be happy to answer them for you.
I'd just like again to thank Michelle for that presentation. It was very informative and gave a very good overview of what's going on downtown. And are there any questions for Michelle while we have her? Pete, I see your hand up, but I'm not sure if that was left over from the airport presentation.
I have one question there for Michelle. Michelle, I'm looking at your letter memorandum on August 16th of 2020. Talks about outdoor dining and alcohol sales and the businesses that are involved in it. And it says down below it, discussion held, no application at this time from Rubbles Bar and Blackstone Bar. Were they contacted about this?
Oh, for the outdoor business activities?
Yes.
Yes. The challenge that both of those establishments have right now is the fact that they don't have 30% of food sales, so they're unable to have any outdoor service at this time. when and if that changes, we have already done the preliminary work with the site visit for both of them, so it will be fast turnaround for them.
So being that they both don't serve food, so they can't qualify for the 30% food,
Correct, correct.
so they can't do any outside service at all.
No.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, I don't see any other hands up, and just like again, thank you, Michelle, for your presentation, and obviously we see you all the time, so we look forward to working with you down the road. Next, do we have any additions or deletions to tonight's agenda? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands, so I think we can move on to our public input on agenda items. We do have a few members of the public here in the meeting, it appears. And if you're in here by phone, you can press 9 to use the raise hand function through Zoom, and I can recognize you for public comment. And if you're here through the Zoom application, all you have to do is hit participants, and then you should be able to see the list of participants, and then there should be a button that says raise hand, and I can recognize you for public comment. You just ask that you list your name and your address, and you'll have 5 minutes to address the commission. It looks like Ryan J is raising his hand, so I'd recognize Ryan J.
Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Is this public comment related to the agenda items or just general public comment? I don't want to go in the wrong time slot.
This is for agenda items.
Okay, so I'll wait till after this to raise my hand again. I apologize. While I have you, I think there's a few more people trying to get into the meeting that are waiting to get let in.
Thank you, Ryan. Nancy, are you seeing anyone?
I'm not seeing anybody in the waiting room. Nick at Mac TV, are you seeing anybody in the waiting room?
I am not.
Okay, maybe they were able to get in.
Okay. I will say that we do have another public input at the end of the meeting and that can be on agenda and non-agenda items. So there will be time if anyone can get in or later in the meeting. But we do have more people in our meeting than usual, so hopefully everyone could get in. Nancy, did we have any emailed comments on agenda items?
No, we did not, Mayor.
Okay. So I'm not seeing any raised hands, and so I will close public input on agenda items at this time. And then we can go to our receipts of communications and petitions.
Yes, Mayor, we have 3 things on this part of the agenda tonight. The first is the ongoing report on pending items, and attached to that this evening is the annual report we provide to the City Commission on the activities of the Experimental Aircraft Association out at the airport and the benefit that they bring to the airport. And this annual report is given to you before I sign the lease agreement for their continued use of our city-owned building. As you can see from their report, the activity levels of events were obviously impacted this year due to COVID limitations, but we still feel they bring great value to the airport. So I intend to sign another 1-year agreement with them with no monthly lease payments due to the benefits they bring to the airport, unless I hear differently from the commission about concerns related to that. And then the other items we have on the receipt of petitions and communications are the March minutes of the Airport Advisory Board and the July minutes of the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Nancy. Next, we will move on to the consent calendar. Consent calendar are items on the agenda with an asterisk next to them. Are there any that need to be removed from the consent calendar tonight? Without seeing any other hands, Manager Ridley, would you like to go through our consent calendar tonight?
Yes, Mayor, we're suggesting 4 items tonight on the consent calendar. The first is the approval of the minutes of your regular meeting of August 10th. The second is that we're requesting that you make an official referral to the Planning Commission. As you know, we've been having ongoing conversations with the Home Builders Association related to their concerns with the residential building standards in the zoning ordinance. And throughout 2018 and 2019, many of those concerns were referred to the Planning Commission and were addressed through amendments to the zoning ordinance, with the exception of one outstanding issue having to do with the placement of garages in relation to the front of the house. And recently, representatives of the Home Builders Association met with various staff members to present, so the Home Builders Association could present their conceptual idea of how to address their remaining concern. And the garage location, in their opinion, related to concerns about market desires, affordability, and compatibility with existing neighborhoods. So based on the discussion centered around their conceptual ideas and how the garage concept might interrelate with other portions of the zoning ordinance, the staff went back and met with them another time and provided potential changes to various sections of the zoning ordinance that would address the Home Builders Association's concerns. The table in your packet outlines all of the proposed changes, and also included is a written communication from the Home Builders Association indicating their support for this proposed solution, which we believe addresses their concerns while also preserving the desired outcomes from the zoning ordinance public input sessions. So we're recommending that this be referred to the Planning Commission for review and official recommendation for zoning changes to you as soon as is practical. The next 2 items are interrelated, related to the solid waste ordinance changes that you approved 2 meetings ago, in which trash carts can be used for city trash pickup in limited circumstances. As part of those discussions, we indicated that to provide this type of service, that our current solid waste hauler would need a 1-year extension of their existing contract. And so we're recommending you authorize the mayor to sign a 1-year extension to December 31st, 2024. And then the ordinance also required that the city commission set a rate for this service by resolution. So the recommended resolution before you this evening sets the rate to cover our expected costs based on the average volume of trash, as well as the monthly rental fee for the trash cart. So we're recommending you approve the resolution as presented to set the rate at $28 per month per trash cart. And lastly, we're recommending approval of payrolls and warrants.
Commissioner Toles?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, Mayor, to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Okay. Commissioner Alsager?
I will second that motion.
Is there any discussion on the consent calendar tonight? All right. Pete, I do see your hand up, and I'm not sure if that's just left over from.
It's left over, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Seeing no other hands up, I think we will go for a roll call vote on approving the consent calendar tonight.
Okay, Commissioner Alsager,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalonde,
Yes.
Commissioner Ronan. Is that a yes?
George, we couldn't hear you.
I'm getting a nod, so we'll go with the nod. Commissioner Toles,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Pierschbacher,
Yes. Yes.
Mayor Joseph,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right. Next on our agenda is item number 10, which is to consider a resolution extending temporary permitting of outdoor business activities. And this is essentially a carryover from what we discussed earlier this summer. But I'll let Manager Ridley give an overview? And
Yes, as you mentioned, Mayor, that you approved this resolution back in May for the extended ability of outdoor space for businesses. And some of that expansion related to the public frontage in some of the businesses, such as sidewalks and parking spaces, while others was the expansion into privately owned space of the business. And the resolution allowed for an expedited process for review and the waiver of certain fees for outdoor use of public space and for tent permits. And our goal, as you will remember, was to try to help businesses comply with the executive orders by providing expanded spaces for them, but also in a safe environment for their patrons. And the response to it has been very positive. As Michelle Sponseller's memo indicates, thus far 14 businesses have utilized this option. And as mentioned during Commissioner Tolus's comment, we've had conversations with 2 additional businesses that if the executive orders change and they can open up, they might be able to utilize some of the outdoor space as well. And this temporary permitting was originally set to expire on September 30th. And tonight we're recommending to you to extend it to November 30th so that we can continue to assist those businesses and provide safe alternatives to their customers. I should mention that Michelle received 4 written communications from individuals in support of this extension. And a couple of them mentioned the City Commission in their communications and wanted to make sure you were aware of their support. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take a couple minutes just to read these real quickly because all 4 of them are fairly short. The first one was from Rachel Blizzard, and she indicates that she's writing this email with the goal to share her sentiments surrounding the extension of the outdoor dining policy for downtown Mount Pleasant. I would like to request the City Commission extend outdoor dining in Mount Pleasant to November 15th at a minimum. These are unprecedented times, and the future looks very uncertain for several of our businesses. Things such as outdoor dining are ways for businesses to extend their services in hopes to bring in more customers and increase revenue. The National Chamber of Commerce is projecting that around 30% of small businesses across the country will close indefinitely due to the pandemic. This is a statistic we do not want to see in our community. I'm hopeful that our commission will do what is right and explore all avenues to help our businesses. We not only need to allow these new ideas and implementations, but also encourage our businesses to onboard them and continue to think outside of the proverbial box of doing traditional business. The second one was from Brian Weifrich, who has a business downtown. And he said, I just wanted to voice my support for extending the city's outdoor dining policy through at least November 15th. I think it's been a great thing for downtown and something different for us to tip our cap to. The third one is from Doug Wallace, who's the president of the Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for taking the time to hear my argument about being able to keep the community open. We have seen that the outdoor spacing that has been allowed for businesses has helped to keep social distancing and has allowed businesses to remain open. As the Chamber President for the Mount Pleasant Area Chamber of Commerce, I would like to request the outdoor seating for restaurants and outdoor areas for retailers to remain in place for the current future. As you may know, the economic impact of this pandemic has hit us close to home and across the globe. The Wall Street Journal says the growing economic crisis triggered by the pandemic is expected to last longer and hit harder in Michigan than in most places. The U.S. and state chambers are predicting as many as 30% of businesses may close due to the pandemic. Most businesses only have 2 or 3 months of savings, and due to the extended closures, they need all the assistance they can to help keep the facilities open. Please consider that allowing the open air concept for businesses to conduct business outside, in addition to the limited indoor seating and shopping, will greatly increase the ability for businesses to remain open and continue to survive in the future. And then the last one is from Joshua Aggerty, who owns Pleasant City Coffee downtown. And he said, the Commission's decision to help downtown businesses with the offering of permit-free outside seating to adapt to the COVID crisis has been the game changer for Pleasant City Coffee, and I assume all other businesses this has been granted to. I ask that the Commission continue the process of street closures and outside seating such as they have done for Pleasant City to the most appropriate weather-related dates to the calendar. Thank you to Michelle and the Parks Department for helping us in the short term to save our business in this ever-changing crisis. So based on that feedback and what we've seen with the activity, we would recommend you approve the resolution extending the permitting until November 30th.
All right. You see a couple of hands up. Commissioner Toles?
I'll make a motion, Mayor, to approve the resolution extending the temporary permitting of outdoor business activities as presented until November 30th of 2020.
And Vice Mayor Perschbacher?
Support that. I support that.
All right. I have a motion and a second, and so we'll open up discussion. Commissioner Alsager?
I do appreciate hearing from Manager Ridley some of those specific comments, and that matches with what we've noticed as we've traveled downtown, and I do agree very much and will support this.
Commissioner Toles?
Yeah, I've also talked to a few business people down there, and it seems a few of them have changed their mind and about this, and I will be supporting this to better our people downtown, our business people.
Well, I think as Commissioner Toles and Commissioner Alsager have pointed out, and the testimony from our business owners downtown, it's obviously been a positive, and you see similar policies across the state and the nation in this pandemic time. And so obviously this is beneficial to them, and I'm just hoping the weather holds out. So with that, I believe we can go for a roll call vote on the resolution as presented.
Commissioner Lalonde?
Yes.
Commissioner Ronan? Yes. Commissioner Toles?
Yes.
Commissioner Alsager?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perschbacher?
Yes.
Mayor Joseph?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Very good. Item number 11 is consider an appointment for our acting city clerk and deputy city clerk. And as I alluded to earlier, Jeremy Howard, our city clerk, has found a new career in city management in the great city of Clare. And but I'll hand it over to our city manager, Nancy Ridley, who worked closely with Jeremy probably for many years, to talk about maybe Jeremy and the new roles that we're filling today.
Yes, as you indicated, Mayor, he has moved on to the city of Clare, and we wish him the best in this new professional opportunity for him. He's got some big shoes to fill in Clare with Ken Hibble leaving. Ken was in Clare for over 20 years and was a wonderful city manager to work with. So I'm sure Jeremy is up to the challenge, but we wish him well. Coming back to what that means to Mount Pleasant at this point, our city charter provides that the city commission must officially appoint the city clerk. And as we've looked at it internally with this vacancy, because the national election is only 10 weeks away, we really don't feel it's practical to recruit, hire, and onboard a new city clerk during this time. And we would instead like to focus all of our efforts on making sure that our existing staff is able to focus their efforts on making sure we have a well-run election in November. So what our plan is to utilize existing city staff by reassigning some duties. And we do have staff who have existing election knowledge and certifications. They've had prior training, and there's also additional training available. So we would rely on the existing staff to lead us through this election time period. We also intend to utilize some of our existing temporary election workers leading up to Election Day, where we can use them to help us out with the absentee voting. As to the other clerk duties, as you're seeing tonight, we're temporarily assigning them to existing staff as well until we get through the election. But because the charter requires the commission to officially appoint the clerk, we're recommending that you appoint Chris Saladin as the acting city clerk and Mary Ann Cornexel as the deputy city clerk during this interim period.
I see Commissioner Tolis.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Chris Saladin as acting city clerk and Mary Ann Cornexel as deputy city clerk for the city of Mount Pleasant.
And Vice Mayor Perschbacher.
Second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Commissioner Alsager? Mary, you're muted.
I certainly respect that our manager and staff have put a lot of time and effort into this and have made the best decisions to move us forward, and I will be supporting this.
Okay. Commissioner Tolis, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank Jeremy for 20 years of great service to the city of Mount Pleasant. I'm also like to commend the city for having people that are qualified to step up in this position until we can get somebody permanently. It's great also. Thank you.
Yep, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Jeremy started with the city as a seasonal, and obviously, person like that, you know, that's the epitome of dedication to the city, and I think the city under leadership prides itself on being a good employer with great employees, and so happy to be in the position that we're in today. So with that, I think we'll go for a roll call vote on those appointments.
Okay, Commissioner Ronan?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, yes.
Commissioner Tolis?
Yes.
Commissioner Alsager?
Yes.
Commissioner Lalonde?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Perschbacher?
Yes.
Mayor Joseph?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Right. Next on our agenda is item number 12, which is to consider another appointment of a voting delegate and alternate for the Michigan Municipal League. The Michigan Municipal League, or MML, holds an annual conference every year, and this year it will be virtual. And this year we have several commissioners and our city manager will be there, and we have to choose a voting delegate. And the appointment is Vice Mayor Perschbacher as our voting delegate, and then myself as the alternate. Commissioner Tolis?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Okay. And Commissioner Alsager?
I will second that motion.
Okay. Any discussion? All right, I think we can go for a roll call vote.
Okay, Commissioner Tolis?
Yes.
Commissioner Alsager?
Yes.
Commissioner Lalonde?
Yes.
Commissioner Ronan? Can't hear you again. Okay, thumbs up. Vice Mayor Perschbacher?
Yes.
And Mayor Joseph?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Our next agenda item is item number 13, which is to consider a closed session pursuant to subsection 8C of the Open Meetings Act for a discussion on a strategy of connecting with the, I'm sorry, I'm losing my words today, but to discuss a collective bargaining agreement with the city. So I don't, Vice Mayor Perschbacher?
I move that we consider or go into a closed session to discuss our collective bargaining agreement.
Okay. And Commissioner Tolis?
I'll support that.
Okay. And then I don't believe there is discussion, so we will go straight to a vote. And I believe we just need a majority. So that with missing Commissioner Gillis, that is still 4, I believe. So
Commissioner Alsager,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalonde,
Yes.
Commissioner Ronan? Yes. Commissioner Tolis,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Pierschbacher,
Yes.
and Mayor Joseph.
yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. All right. Next is announcements on city-related issues and new business. There's a lot out there today. I know there is. I want to, I guess, I want to recognize, she doesn't have her hand up, but I sort of want to recognize our city manager first, because the Central Michigan Health Department released a new order today, and I would like to have her sort of give a general overview of what the order is and how that affects us.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Central Michigan Health Department Director did issue an order at the end of business today related to outdoor gatherings. And the order has been pushed out to the media and is on various social media posts. So I'm sure many of you have seen it already. But this order applies to the city of Mount Pleasant and to Union Township. And what it does is, based on the number of cases that he has seen and his concern about the spread of the coronavirus, it puts further limits on outdoor gatherings, so that those outdoor gatherings are limited to no more than 25 people, appropriately social distanced, with some limited exceptions. And this is instead of the 100 limit that's in the executive order from the governor. And so that order goes into effect this evening. And so that will be in effect until he rescinds the order. And so, as I indicated, that's been out to the media and goes into effect at 8 o'clock this evening. And so we're hopeful that some of the spread from some of the larger gatherings might help mitigate some of that as it goes forward. And that's totally within the purview of the public health director to be able to issue those orders. While I have the floor, if you don't mind, I meant to mention on item number 11, I wanted to thank in advance Marianne Cornexo, Chris Saladin, Jacob Kane, and Marilyn Wixon, because the 4 of them are going to be taking up the lion's share of the city clerk duties over these next 10 weeks. So I appreciate their willingness to step up and help us out during this time period. So I apologize for not doing that, but since you gave me the floor, I thought I'd take the opportunity to do that. And I think that's my update for this evening.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Perschbacher.
Well, there's a couple of things I'd like to bring to mind. Obviously we all know CMU's back in session. We're all very aware of that. Please wear your mask, please social distance, please take care of yourself. It's the only way we're going to get through this. Another thing on the other side of this is the Broadway Theater, which I am the chair of that group. We are having a free pop and popcorn this Saturday from 11 to 2. We're also selling our candy at half off. We're trying to stay open and stay around so that in the fall of 2021, we'll be able to bring you those wonderful musicals and plays and concerts and Rocky Horror and all of that stuff next year.
Okay. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Anyone else have items for discussion? Well, I would, I just have a couple things. Obviously, as is the hot topic, unfortunately, but I'd just like to speak to our community and especially those at CMU that obviously with students back, and we've seen an uptick in a lot of cases, and it falls on personal responsibility, and we need our residents, whether you're a student or a long-term resident, to wear your mask, practice social distancing, and if you're sick, stay at home and get tested. There's no easy way to put it, that those are the things right now that are most effective at curbing the spread of this disease. And they're so important, not only for your personal health, but our local economy and all of those around you, whether they be your neighbor, your family, your friends. No one is safe from COVID-19. And as our director Laureate puts it so eloquently, be the reason we can get back to normal. And that's really, I think that's the most important message for tonight. And so I'm just going to leave it there. And fill out your census. City employees have been touring Mount Pleasant and handing out door knockers at various apartment complexes and trying to get everyone to fill out their census. We're approaching our goal of meeting our voluntary completion from our last census. And so if you haven't done it, do it again. Or I mean, if you haven't done it, do it. And if you don't think you did it, or if you're not sure, do it again. But anyways, that's all I have for tonight. I guess I don't see any other hands, so we'll go into a public comment on city-related issues. And as I stated earlier, if you're joining us by phone, you can press 9 to raise your hand, or you can go to the participants button at the bottom of your screen and then hit the raise hand button on the bottom right. And so it looks like we do have one member of the public, Mid-Mich resident, and I'll recognize them for 5 minutes of public comment. Just state your name and your address.
Greetings. My name is Deb Carey. I live at 7434 Howard City Edmore Road in Vesterburg, Michigan. I own Consano, a successful medical marijuana business in Mount Pleasant. I've been open since July of 2019. I am in compliance with the city and the state. I have been pre-authorized by the state for the adult use of marijuana since December. My business is not a proposal. It's real and ready to go. After receiving the news on Friday, I am shocked and confused, and so are some other members of the public, because there are 2 established businesses presently in the city that are capable of serving the public right now. I would like to thank our medical marijuana patients for allowing us to serve them and for their support. And I want you to know you will always be our priority in this. It is reasonable for me to predict that it would be difficult to compete in a marijuana business without a recreational license. That's why I look to you as the city commissioners, because you're the elected officials in the community, the voice of the people. It was the commission that decided to opt in. It was the commission that decided it should be based on a merit plan business system rather than a lottery. But then you chose others to implement your plan, and I feel the true spirit of the merit system was lost, or at least diluted by others' interpretation, so much that my business was totally undervalued. I'm sounding like a sore loser. I expect better from the city, and I feel I should have received a spot. Why? because I am your daughter. And these men are your sons. We are a 4-generation family born in Mount Pleasant. I'm a graduate of Sacred Heart, a nurse practitioner, a midwife. I have a prosperous business with my sons in a lovely building supported by a wonderful, caring staff. I am retiring soon with my 91-year-old father in tow. I'm returning to my hometown to roost with my 3 sons and 3 of my 4 grandkids, where I invested my retirement fund in a new and exciting enterprise. So I'm far from being a poor loser. The situation as I see it, though, will eventually cause Cassano economic injury. Our potential to conduct business in the marijuana field freely will be limited, to say the least. I have been slapped in the face. I have sat through enough meetings to know what the past practice here is, and that is to support local businesses whenever the opportunity presents, even if it costs a little bit more to stay local. I believe you can help me by just not excluding me based on the results of a scorecard that you delegated somebody else to grade. I'm not asking you to change the results. I just ask that you do your due diligence and review the scoring and the interviews and see if you agree. There are precedents to remedy my situation that other cities have implemented without incident or retaliation. Please explore those options.
Could I get 5 minutes also?
Yeah, I think
Hello?
that. Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay. My name is Caleb Carey. I live in 214B South Pine Street in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. I'm also an owner of Cassano, and I'm obviously disappointed in the outcome of the selection committee scoring. I feel the scoring commission undervalued our tangible investment. For example, would it be possible for me to share the screen just to show some pictures?
I'm not sure. Can we? I don't.
It says host disabled participant screen share.
Yeah, I think that's.
All right. Anyway, we installed solar panels that had been operational. I'd love to show you pictures of them. They were operational before the scoring meeting, yet we were not awarded full points for green energy. I don't know what the other applicants put in, but I don't know if anyone has actually tangibly put in any kind of green infrastructure. In the category of establishment design, we were awarded a 5, a 5, and a 5.5 out of 10. We have passed all building inspections, fire inspections, and state licensing inspections. A layout done by an architect and survey done by Rowe Services was submitted. In the physical investment category, one of the scoring criteria was proposed, and I quote, proposed tangible capital investment. The term proposed tangible is oxymoronic. The definition of tangible is perceptible by touch. We have tangibly invested in this business with a restored building downtown and commitment to energy efficient, with energy efficient water heaters and solar panels producing 70% of our energy consumption. In this same category of physical investment, the current and proposed condition, as well as ownership stake in the property, were the other criteria in this 20-point category. We own the building and the site is ready for operation immediately. We were awarded a 12, a 12, and an 8 out of 20 on this category. Another property, which is not owned by the applicant, nor would it be immediately ready for operation because, frankly, it's an empty lot. They were awarded an 8, a 9, and an 18 out of 20. I would encourage the commission to review the scoring and see if the selection committee scored applications fairly and according to your criteria. Thank you.
Okay. I'll just thank you for your comments tonight, and I would just say if there's pictures or further comment, you can always email those to the commission, and we can get those. So Next is Ryan J., who has been with us who was with us here on the Zoom call.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Ryan Jocks, and I represent the other existing medical marijuana provisioning center in Mount Pleasant, Old 27 North on Mission Street. And I'm here today to speak about the decision this past Friday by the selection committee as well, to not award any conditional authorizations to the two existing provisioning centers. Kind of like Caleb spoke, our business has dedicated the necessary resources to open our business in early May. You know, during the pandemic, we've operated compliantly, safely, without issue since then. We've invested, all told, over $800,000, committed to a 5-year lease, spent countless hours to make sure that we're being a model business in the city. We employ 18 individuals from Mount Pleasant and the surrounding Isabella County area. And then, you know, the decision of the scoring committee, the results of the competitive scoring process seemed to give little to no weight to these existing investments and commitments to the city from these two operating businesses, while giving substantial weight to grand promises of state-of-the-art buildings and conceptual drawings that we know from practice rarely reflect what is actually built when us and Consano have already put in that effort and displayed that ability to execute. You know, the two existing businesses ended up ranking 7th and 8th out of 10 according to the scoring applied, which was quite perplexing. There was actually a single company with no current presence in the city awarded 2 of the 3 recreational conditional authorizations. And interestingly, that company's application included an attorney letter stating that elements of the Mount Pleasant ordinance were illegal. During that August 17th meeting with the scoring committee, where the letter was disclosed, the city even made a point to state that the letter felt like it potentially was a veiled threat of litigation should the applicant not be selected. And then they were selected for 2 locations. In addition, the scoring of the applications didn't seem to have a rhyme or reason, nor did it follow the guidance provided to the applicants by the scoring committee on the July meeting held by the scoring committee to describe how the applications would be scored. In that meeting, they said their charge was to determine who was best suited to operate in compliance with the MRTMA, and the scoring would be a comparison with other entities, and point allocations would be made relative to other applications. Numerous results of the scores seem to ignore these guidelines. I just want to highlight a few before I give you your time back. You know, one of the sections was energy efficiency, worth 10 points. Our application contained 9 pages of an energy compliance report performed by a professional site planning firm with drawings showing multiple energy saving measures. We received 0 points from one of the judges, while the winning applicant that had received 2, you know, just from what was on paper, received 10 points. So we received 0 points for that over 9-page report. In the section for experience in the city, House of Fire, which does have a conditional approval for a medical provisioning center, but has not operated and not opened like Consano and us, received the same amount of points as us and Caleb and his mother. So us, Caleb and his mother, and House of Fire received the equal amount of points, even though they have not opened and don't have the experience in Mount Pleasant. And lastly, in the physical investment category, which was worth 20 points, even though we've spent over $800,000 and committed to a 5-year lease, we received 1 or 4 out of 20 points on our application, while the winning company received over 12 to 15 points in theirs. Those are just some examples. And just in closing, I just wanted to say, you know, in the changing landscape of medical marijuana in Michigan, it almost assuredly requires that an existing medical marijuana retail location must serve recreational customers in order to survive. Medical patients numbers are dropping by the month for many reasons, including difficulties of patients to see doctors during COVID-19, ease of access to recreational facilities, and just the costs of obtaining a medical card. And with the decision of the scoring committee, these two existing businesses are really at risk of not surviving going forward. And we really would appreciate if the city would work with us to help us rectify this problem. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I don't see any other hands up from the public. Just to reiterate, you can press 9 on your cell phone or go to participants and hit raise hand. Manager Ridley, did we have any emailed comments on city-related issues?
No, we did not, Mayor.
Okay. Looks like we have another public comment by Melissa Noel Lambert.
Hello. How are you, Mayor?
Good.
Good. It's nice to meet you. You worked with my son at the water park. I think I reached out to you one time. Do you remember my name?
Melissa, I'm having a hard time hearing you, but I just wanted to let you know that these public comments are supposed to address the commission as a whole, not individual members.
I just wanted to say hello to you. But anyways,
Appreciate it.
I would like to address this issue when it comes to the cannabis here in Mount Pleasant. I moved here 2 years ago in hopes of getting away from the drugs and the pills, and everything has overtaken our towns in Michigan. I moved from Reed City to Mount Pleasant. I've always liked Mount Pleasant. I lived here 2 years, and I have found out that there are some serious problems that need to be addressed in this town, and one of them is a drug problem. You've got people that are addicts that are out there that are living on the street. Our homeless shelter here in town, I guess, is only open during the winter months. And honestly, I was an addict. I was an addict for 20 years. It ruined my life, only to turn to cannabis, who has gotten me to the point, and this plant is a life-saving plant, and it offers so much potential besides opioids. And not only does the city council need to take into consideration that this will put a dent, if not remove, your drug problem here, but it also will bring a revenue into this town, which is actually one of the top 3 poorest counties in Michigan. How does that happen in Mount Pleasant, Michigan? The revenue possibility, you've got 2 buildings here, Old 27 North and Consano, which are only medical at this point. And you allowed Loom, these gigantic corporations, to come in and take over these family-owned businesses who have started here to give to these people, to offer these people help in the medical field besides drugs and pills. And in my eyes, I see Loom and all these other corporations, these big money corporations coming in, and they're knocking out more business, home. I mean, these people, these are their livelihoods. Mount Pleasant, I'm sorry, it is going downhill. And one of the biggest issues that I am hearing is drugs. I'm running for office here in town, 99th District, Green Party. And a lot of people approach me going, we have got a problem, and cannabis will solve, if not get rid of this problem that every town in Michigan has. It's not just here. It's Clare, it's Harrison, it's Reed City, it's Lake, it's everywhere in the UP. But Mount Pleasant is centrally located. This is the heart of Michigan, the heartbeat. And yet you're turning down these small little homegrown companies, these little businesses who are going to end up going under because of a big money corporation. I hate to see that, because that's just another family that's going to end up struggling and ending up in this homeless shelter here in town. I'm sorry, I had to say my piece. What you've done to Consano and Old 27 and taking on Loom and all these other big corporations is it would be a slap in the face to me as a business owner who has fourth generation, fifth generation been here. So that's just my opinion. So take it as whatever. But I honestly think Mount Pleasant really needs to, you know, embrace cannabis as a whole. Not just about getting high, it's the medical use too. I went and had my shoulder done. I told my doctor, I don't want fentanyl. I don't want morphine. I don't want Dilaudid. I want RSO. Rick Simpson oil, derivative of cannabis. It's non-addictive. It's not gonna make me, you know, not wake up in the morning. I know what I'm doing, and yet my pain is away. But again, you know, we can't have this stuff unless you let these smaller companies have it here in town. So now we've got to wait. These recreational people are going everywhere around here. Bay City, Flint, Edmore, Everett, Big Rapids, to go get the recreational cannabis. And you're losing revenue every single day. And yet you're going to wait till summertime when Loom builds their building. You've got two that are here that are established. People know them. They like them. They're friendly. They're good business people. And you're going to take that away from this community. I don't get it. But that's just me. Thank
Melissa,
you.
can you give your address, please?
My address is 1333 East Gaylord, Mount Pleasant.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Melissa.
You're very welcome. And you all have a great night and you all stay safe, okay?
Doesn't look like we have any more hands up, and we didn't have any more emailed comments, so I will close the public input for tonight on city-related issues. And we will recess for about 5 minutes, and then we'll have a work session on the airport partners agreement, and then we will have our closed session after that. Yeah, let's take 5 minutes and see around 8:27, 8:28.
And commissioners, for this, we'll stay on this Zoom call, so you can just turn off your video for the 5 minutes, but we'll come back to this Zoom call for the work session.
Thank you. All right, looks like we have everybody here. And we will resume our meeting for our work session on the airport partners agreement, which has been a long time coming, I'm sure. And I guess I'll just immediately hand it over to Nancy and Bill and Jason to sort of give us an overview. And then we can kind of dive into the agreement, and if we have questions and comments, we can start that. But I'll hand it over to staff and to get us started.
Yes, Mayor, you're exactly right. This is a long time in coming. This idea was first presented to the City Commission and the Airport Advisory Board back in 2015. And the idea was to explore a partners agreement because everyone recognized that the airport is an economic engine servicing more than just the city of Mount Pleasant. And we wanted additional input into the needs and some success for the airport. And we were looking for partners who would have a vested interest in doing that, potentially by providing funds to the airport. So back in 2015, when this was approved by the City Commission to explore, we first invited representatives from Union Township, Chippewa Township, Isabella County, CMU, Middle Michigan Development Corporation, and the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe to talk about the concept with us. And there's a number of reasons why it got sidelined over the years, but I won't go into all of that history. The important thing to know is we've got it back on track, and we're hoping to finalize it yet this year. But during those years, the group we met with did spend a significant amount of time researching what other airports do that have agreements. We had legal analysis done about how the structure might work if we had the airport managed in a different way. We performed and provided multiple multi-year financial projections, and we investigated future service needs of the airport, and finally settled upon a general idea that a joint operations agreement was the best option for moving forward, because under that type of an agreement, the city would retain ownership of the airport and the city would have ultimate responsibility, since at the end of the day, we are responsible to FAA and the MDOT based on all of the grants that we have received over the years. And so we started drafting the agreements and received a significant amount of input from all of our potential partners. And just recently, in the last month, we looped back with those potential partners, which include Union Township, Isabella County, Middle Michigan Development Corporation, and the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe, to do one last review of the agreement that is in the packet that you have. And these reviews have all been done at the administrative level. The agreements have not gone to the elected bodies yet. But at this point in time, those 4 partners are still interested in trying to wrap this up this year. And so before we got too far, we thought it was important to bring the City Commission up to speed, because many of you were not here when we first started going down this road. So in summary, what the Airport Operations Agreement would do for us is it would create a new operations board that would be made up of 1 representative from each of the 5 entities. And that board would primarily be advisory in nature to the City Commission. They would have a little bit of independent authority, but anything that is a multi-year commitment or has to do with acquisition or disposal of land would still be at the City Commission level. And all of the employees would still be City of Mount Pleasant employees. But it allows us to get valuable input from those partners who are dependent on the airport for economic development. And as I indicated, it commits them to a small amount of financial support every year during the term of the agreement. And if additional grants are available, it gives us a better base of support to apply for those grants, and a better understanding by our partners of the needs for maybe matching funds for those. So if things continue to move forward this year, this agreement would go into effect in January of 2021. And we would initially transition our existing airport advisory board to what I would call like a Friends of the Airport group, because that group has a lot of history and knowledge that we don't want to lose in the short term. So we would still stay in contact with that group of people, but it would be more of a Friends of the Airport type thing. So what we're seeing as the next steps is answer any questions or concerns you might have this evening. And then I could start working with the other 4 entities to have it put in front of their boards to consider and hopefully approve. And then once all of that is done, it would come back to you for final approval, hopefully before the end of the year. So with that 30,000 high overview, since we're talking about airport, I can talk about 30,000 feet, right? I will stop talking at this point and be ready to address any questions you may have or concerns you may have about the draft agreement.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Commissioner Roden? George?
city clerk is still listed as Jeremy as Jeremy, so I assume we'll, but
We'll fix that, yes, good catch.
Yeah, I saw that as well. I think there's also a typo underneath 5A where the may and continue don't have a space between them.
guys, he's a smart,
Yeah. I have a question. So under the appointments to this board, those are under basically like this board and the county board and the township and tribal council. They would all pick their representatives. But then when you get into the agreement, it says, the representatives shall be basically administrative personnel. And so I was just wondering, is that that would basically preclude elected officials is sort of what I'm reading that to mean from being on that board.
I believe you're correct, Mayor, and my recollection is that that was the preference of the partners because they're multi-year term appointments so that we have some continuity with the board. The partners felt like it would be important for the members of this board to likely be staff individuals so that we could have that continuity in those multi-year commitments. But certainly those individuals would be communicating with the elected bodies and getting their input to be the representative to that board.
Right. Yeah, and that until I read that, I had concerns about the term limits, or not the term limits, but the terms of the people on the board, because I know the different governing bodies have different limits, like the county and the tribal council are 2 years. We're currently 3 years. I believe the township is 4, right? Yeah. So yeah, I guess that answered my own question when I read that. But other than that, I really didn't have any questions. I like the fact that that if there's agreements between the members of the board, that can be those can go on sort of separate from from either the 2% or the annual contributions to the airport. And so if there's like a project or something that we want to work on as a board together, that we can draft agreements between the bodies and move forward in that way. And also I did have a question as to why there was differences in what the different bodies contributed. Like the township was 10,000, the county was 5, and then I think the tribal council and the city were, or not the city, but MMDC were $1,000. And I guess if there was any clarification onto like how those amounts got to where they're at.
That's a very good question. And let me talk about the tribal piece first, because that's the most confusing. The tribe has historically been very supportive of our airport, and our airport would not be in the situation it's in without the tribal 2% allocations that we've regularly received from tribal council. But one of the challenges the tribe had, and actually one of the concerns they had about being a member of this board, is that they cannot contractually obligate those tribal 2% funds for future years. It's got to be up to the sitting tribal council to make those decisions. So originally their thoughts were that they would not be able to be a member of the board, but yet they really believed in the board and really believed in the creative thinking that could happen with all the partners at the table. So they wanted to be a part of it. So I think there's a statement in there somewhere that says we can still apply for tribal 2% funds. So that's what the attorneys finally came up with, is that clause would allow us to still apply for those and hopefully continue to get good support through the tribal 2% process. But to be at the table and be a member, they still wanted to make an annual contribution. But obviously in their case, they wanted it to be nominal because they know they're going to be giving, it's likely they're going to be giving additional contributions. So that's how theirs ended up at that amount. The other three entities, it was based on what their beliefs were about what would be supportable at their elected official level. MMDC is not an elected official, but theirs was more about a marketing part for the airport. So it really was what they thought their contribution should be based on what their what value their jurisdiction initially gets from it. But they all recognize that as they learn more about it, maybe those amounts could be discussed in the future. But this is what they were most comfortable recommending to their two elected boards.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy. I think that really answered my question. And
we kind of, to add one more piece to that, Mayor, we kind of took the approach to, right or wrong, that if you're going to be in the decision-making capability of being on the board, that you had to have some financial skin in the game. So we made it clear that we expected some contribution from each of the partners, but then we kind of left it to them to see what they thought was appropriate for their financial contribution.
yeah, I think that makes sense. But at the same token, I do like the fact that the city is retaining most of the control about the budget and who's going to be working there, and really this board seems more advisory than necessarily the buck stops here sort of board. But
yeah, because at the end of the day, the city has all the financial risks, so that's why we retained all of that capability throughout the agreement.
Commissioner Alsager.
I read through this and thought it was real complete and did represent a good partnership agreement. Probably, as you said, a lot of time involved in it over the years, but it looks to me like it's a real good document that I think other groups should be able to support as well.
Commissioner Toles?
The only question I had for Nancy, on this operating board, we're going to have these 5 different entities. How would the voting go on some of the stuff? Because in essence, like you said before, the city's taking all the risk, number one. They're on the hook with the FFA and MDOT. So I don't know how this control of each one of these entities would work.
That's a great question, Commissioner Toles. Each person on the board would have 1 vote, and it would be a typical majority vote rules. But in those cases where there's a financial obligation or there's large risk, it still needs to come to the city commission. So it's coming to you as just a recommendation by the majority of the members of the board. And ultimately, the 7 of you get to make a decision one way or the other if there's financial risk related to it. And I think there's a paragraph in the agreement that says you will give due deference to their recommendation, but you are not bound by their recommendations. So in those cases, you still really retain the ability at the end of the day.
Thank you, Manager, really, for that clarification.
I just wanted to say that I think this agreement is another great example of us working with our community partners, and I hope that after this meeting that our partners will see the same value, and we look forward to working with them on our airport, which I gotta say, every time I drive by it, it's just nice to look at. It's one of the most interesting things I think we have in town. Sometimes even at night, I'll go drive over there and watch see if I can see a plane take off or just watch the lights. Cool thing. But I don't see any other hands up, so I'll give you one more chance and then we can go into a closed session. All right.
Before we head to the closed session, I would just indicate to the public that we don't intend to take any action after the closed session. So for simplicity on these virtual meetings, we will likely adjourn off camera so that we don't have to sign everybody back on just to do a motion for adjournment, so that the public knows after the closed session, the only thing we will do is adjourn and we'll not be coming back to any open meeting on camera.
Yep. I'll adjourn the meeting, and if there's some strange once in a million thing that we have to meet for, I will call a special meeting for the next possible time. But yes, we will adjourn. So, all right. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you on the other Zoom call.
Thank you, everyone.